Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the United States Naval Academy's Alumni Hall. I am Midshipman First Class Ward Scott, President of the Class of 2015. This afternoon, we are recognizing 4 graduates of the Naval Academy who will receive the 2015 Distinguished Graduate Award Medal from the United States Naval Academy Alumni Association. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party, followed by the introduction of this year's Distinguished Graduate Award recipients. Please remain standing for the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, the 62nd Superintendent of the United States Naval Academy, Vice Admiral Ted Carter, Class of 1981. Admiral Robert Nader, United States Navy retired, United States Naval Academy Class of 1967, Alumni Association Board of Trustees Chairman. Admiral Henry H. Maws, Jr., United States Navy retired, United States Naval Academy Class of 1959. Admiral Richard W. Meese, United States Navy retired, United States Naval Academy Class of 1967. Admiral James O. Ellis, Jr., United States Navy retired, United States Naval Academy Class of 1969. Mr. David Robinson, United States Naval Academy Class of 1987. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. March on the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. march off the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We are honored to have with us 18 previous recipients of the Alumni Association's Distinguished Graduate Award. Joining us today are Captain John Crawford, United States Navy retired, class of 1942. Admiral Sylvester Foley, United States Navy retired, class of 1950. Admiral Carlisle A.H. Trost, United States Navy retired, class of 1953. Rear Admiral Robert Shoemaker, United States Navy retired, class of 1956. Admiral Bruce DeMars, United States Navy retired, class of 1957. Lieutenant General Matthew Cooper, United States Marine Corps retired, class of 1958. Admiral Henry Childs, Jr., United States Navy retired, class of 1960. Admiral Leighton Smith, Jr., United States Navy retired, class of 1962. Rear Admiral William Miller, United States Navy retired, class of 1962. Mr. Roger Tetrault, class of 1963. Admiral J. Paul Reason, United States Navy retired, class of 1965. General Carlton Fulford, United States Marine Corps retired, class of 1966. The Honorable J. Scott Redd, class of 1966. Admiral Steve Abbott, United States Navy retired, class of 1966. General Peter Pace, United States Marine Corps retired, class of 1967. Admiral Michael Mullen, United States Navy retired, class of 1968. Admiral Thomas Fargo, United States Navy retired, class of 1970. And Mr. Daniel Ackerson, class of 1970. Ladies and gentlemen, Naval Academy Command Chaplain, Captain Michael W. Gore, United States Navy.
As we begin this ceremony in celebration of the actions and deeds of these remarkable distinguished graduates, we take a few moments to remember those recipients who have passed away. The history and tradition of the Naval Academy has been built on the contribution of men such as these. These distinguished graduates are truly part of the cornerstone of the legacy of the Naval Academy. Their lives will continue to inspire those who follow after them. So let us honor those who have gone before now with a moment of silence. I invite all who wish to join me now in prayer. O God, we are grateful for those who throughout history have shown us the way. Women and men of courage, character, and conviction who have given themselves to the service of our Navy and our nation and have sacrificed much in pursuit of our highest and holiest ambitions. Tonight, it is our privilege and pleasure to honor 4 such men who have embodied the highest values and deepest virtues of our great academy, and who, by dint of dedication and devotion, have modeled for us the life of service to which we all are called. Bless them, each and every one, and grant them the satisfaction of knowing that they now stand and will forever stand as examples for us all. May we who pause to honor them this night live lives of service as distinguished as theirs, and may you, the creator and sustainer of our great nation, be honored in all we say and think and do. For we pray this and all things needful in your sacred name. Amen.
This is the 17th presentation ceremony for the awarding of the Distinguished Graduate Award by the United States Naval Academy and the United States Naval Academy Alumni Association. The Distinguished Graduate Award is presented to a living graduate of the United States Naval Academy, whose character and distinguished service draw wholesome comparisons to the Naval Academy's core values of honor, courage, and commitment. These graduates have provided a lifetime of service to our nation and our naval service, and have demonstrated unwavering support for the Naval Academy. This year, the Naval Academy Alumni Association has chosen to honor 4 individuals with the award. Ladies and gentlemen, Vice Admiral Ted Carter, the 62nd Superintendent of the United States Naval Academy.
Thank you, Midshipman Scott, for that introduction. Welcome, each and every one of you, to the 17th Distinguished Graduate Award ceremony here at the United States Naval Academy. Brigade of Midshipmen, former Distinguished Graduate Awardees, alumni, and most especially our newest distinguished graduates, as well as their families and friends, thank you all for being here on this very special occasion. This is a big deal. It's formal in nature and most appropriate to be witnessed by the entire Brigade of Midshipmen. Now, this is the first Distinguished Graduate Ceremony for our plebes, the class of 2018, as well as myself, as I finish my first year as superintendent, and I want to tell you all that I am truly honored to share the stage with these legends of reputation and accomplishment. This is a special day when we honor those who have been here before us and recognize the best of the best who have and continue to make our Naval Academy what it is. Distinguished graduates are the embodiment of what we strive to achieve in the U.S. Naval Academy's mission. That mission, which has evolved over our 169-year history, bears repeating, even though all of us probably could repeat it ourselves. Our mission, quote, to develop midshipmen morally, mentally, and physically, and to imbue them with the highest ideals of duty, honor, and loyalty in order to graduate leaders who are dedicated to a career of naval service and have potential for future development in mind and character to assume the highest responsibilities of command, citizenship, and government, unquote. Now, many of you know I've taken the time in just about every one of my speaking opportunities to highlight this remarkable task. Our mission statement makes us who we are. We're not just making officers here at the Naval Academy, we're training and educating leaders of consequence and character. We don't merely prepare midshipmen to be the officer of the deck, to fly a jet off a carrier, to lead Marines into battle. We prepare our young men and women to be the future leaders of our nation. And today, we bear witness to these results. The gentlemen you see on the stage today embody our mission. They have served with distinction and make us proud. And I am humbled to share this stage with you, as I believe each and every one of us are here today in Alumni Hall as current and future Naval Academy graduates. As an institution, we honor the distinguished graduates because of their demonstrated and unselfish commitment to a lifetime of service to our nation. We honor their personal character, which epitomizes the traits we expect in our officer corps. We honor their significant contributions to our Navy and Marine Corps, as well as their leadership in industry, government, and the field of athletics. Each distinguished graduate serves as a beacon, lighting the way for our midshipmen as they begin to chart their naval careers. They also serve as examples to motivate those alumni currently serving our Navy and Marine Corps. Thank you again for being here. To Admiral Henry Mawes, to Admiral Richard Meese, to Admiral James Ellis, and the other Admiral, to Mr. David Robinson, may I personally be the first to say congratulations and welcome back to your Naval Academy. Thank you all.
We are pleased to showcase the lives and achievements of each of our distinguished graduates with a biographical video prepared in their honor. Presenting the Distinguished Graduate Award Medal to each of our awardees is the Brigade Commander, Midshipman Captain Joseph Worth, class of 2015. He is joined by Vice Admiral Ted Carter and Admiral Robert Natter. From the United States Naval Academy class of 1959, Admiral Henry H. Mawes, Jr., United States Navy, retired.
Henry H. Mawes, Jr. was born on May 4, 1936 in Lynchburg, Virginia. He is son of Henry and Renee Mawes and was raised with his brother Weston. His father was a colonel in the Army and served in World War II and Korea. While attending the University of Colorado, Hank received an appointment to the Naval Academy. He jumped at the chance for a life of adventure and service to his country. At the Academy, Hank was on the golf team and played field ball. He was inspired by his 11th Company officer, Alexander Haig, who instilled in him a lifelong lesson that one man can make a difference. The Lucky Bag noted, Hank's big aim in life seems to be to play golf, but he plans to take time out to match his golf triumphs in the Navy. Destined for an exemplary career, Hank began by serving in several destroyers. Then he earned a degree in electrical engineering at the Naval Postgraduate School. He volunteered for duty in Vietnam and was assigned as officer in charge of a 10-boat river patrol boat section, where he led over 100 combat patrols in the Rung Sat Special Zone and the Mekong Delta. Next, he commanded the minesweeper USS Prime during operations off Vietnam, leading the ship to win the Battle Efficiency E. After graduating with distinction from the Air Command and Staff College, he served as executive officer of USS Sampson. This was followed by tours in command of the USS Semmes and cruiser USS England, both of which won battle efficiency E's and led their fleets in re-enlistment of sailors. Later, he served as Chief of Staff to Commander Carrier Group 1 and deployed with the USS Coral Sea Battle Group to the Western Pacific. Hank's first flag assignment at sea was as Commander Cruiser Destroyer Group 12, the USS America Battle Group, and the Battle Force 6th Fleet. Once again, he was placed in combat as the three-carrier anti-air warfare commander during operations against Libya in the Gulf of Sidra. A few short weeks later, as Battle Force commander, he flawlessly planned and executed Operation El Dorado Canyon, a series of joint strikes against Libya's terrorist bases. After a tour as Deputy Chief of Staff and acting deputy to the Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Fleet, he was promoted to Vice Admiral and assigned to command the U.S. 7th Fleet during the final years of the Cold War. In August 1990, he assumed command of U.S. Naval Forces Central Command. He expertly integrated all U.S. and Allied naval forces into complex Desert Shield operations and into planning for what became Desert Storm. After a tour as Deputy CNO for Navy Program Planning, He received his 4th star in 1992 and was assigned as Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Atlantic Fleet. In response to the post-Cold War drawdowns, he further integrated Navy and Marine Corps operations, streamlined the fleet's support infrastructure, and maintained a high state of readiness. In 1994, Admiral Walter retired from active duty. Throughout his career, he received many awards, including 5 Distinguished Service Medals, a Defense Superior Service Medal, a Legion of Merit, and a Bronze Star with a Combat V, and awards from Canada, Japan, and France. Hank remains active in his support of the armed services. As Senior Fellow at the Center for Civil-Military Relations through the Naval Postgraduate School, he has conducted team seminars in countries worldwide to promote new democracies. He was president and chairman of the Naval Postgraduate School Foundation. He has written 3 articles for the Naval Institute Proceedings. He has served on several corporate boards of directors. Hank provides a wide range of support to the Naval Academy. He is a long-standing President's Circle donor and has led fundraising efforts such as forming the Friends of Navy Golf. He also mentors recent graduates and current midshipmen. Hank married Peggy right after graduation. They now have 4 children and 11 grandchildren, one of whom is a member of the USNA Class of 2017. Hank's most meaningful accomplishment was working with young people and making a positive influence in their lives. He is also grateful for his exciting assignments in command of ships, task groups, and fleets during operations of national significance. Admiral Henry H. Mawes, Jr., an inspirational commander and leader in the armed forces and our nation.
Wow, what a crowd. Admiral Carter, Admiral Natter, Admiral Trost, other distinguished guests, Brigade of Midshipmen. I am humbled, honored, and a bit surprised to be here. I would like to express my great appreciation to the Class of '59 for nominating me for this award, and to the Monterey chapter of the Alumni Association for running me up the flagpole again. And I stand among giants in our Navy and our history. I have many classmates and friends here who have come a long way, and I'm grateful for that. And I want to especially recognize 2 people. One is Martha Donovan, the wife of my classmate, Vice Admiral Frank Donovan, who was the president of our class since before we graduated, and unfortunately died recently. Frank was a distinguished naval officer who I believe should have stood on this stage before I did. And to Martha in particular, the mother of a wonderful family, 8 children, 2 of whom attended the Naval Academy, one of whom is married to the Commandant of Midshipmen, and And Martha, and the Commandant describes Martha as being the gold standard of mothers-in-law. Second, I want to recognize Mr. Gary Laughlin. Gary and Sandy Laughlin have come from California. Gary's a Texas oil man. He's come all the way, a dear friend in California. He's come all the way for this occasion. I won't tell you how old Gary Laughlin is, but he flew fighter planes off of small carriers in the South Pacific as a Marine aviator in World War II. I also want to recognize my classmates who are here today, including those who are from the 11th Company. The 11th Company was my company when I was a midshipman. Midshipman, way up there. And the 11th Company in those days was a colorful organization. We called ourselves Club 11. I showed up plebe year after the brigade came back from their summer leave. We were addressed by our company officer, an Army officer. I have spent my life in the Army. My dad was an Army officer. I went to 17 schools, 1 through 12. I lived in Fort this and Fort that. And my company officer is an Army guy at the Naval Academy. I said, geez, I can't escape him. Well, that Army officer lined us up the first day and said he studied the history of the 11th Company. We'd never won anything, and he concluded, therefore, that we hadn't won enough because we hadn't cared enough. And starting that day, we cared, and we marched until the sun went down and marched some more. And we did all the drills, the flag hoist and semaphore. You midshipmen may not know what those are anymore, but we had to practice them and pass tests on them. We won the academic award, we won the athletic award, we won the E. And it occurred to me soon thereafter that we did all that because of one man, Captain Alexander Haig. You heard his name mentioned earlier. He was a captain in the U.S. Army, went on to be a 4-star general, SACEUR, and deputy and national security advisor to the president and the Secretary of State. And I met him years later. We had good laughs and good memories. So one person can make a difference, and that kind of became my credo as I went through my career. I graduated after numerous scrapes with the authorities. I married a lovely and wonderful girl that I met on second-class summer in Italy of all places. And she's still, you saw some photographs, she's still wonderful and lovely. And I'll say more about her in a minute. I deployed with my first destroyer in the Far East. I was off Japan in, I guess it was about February. The ship gets a message. Well, I stand and watch it until midnight. I go to my JO bunk room. The messenger wakes me at 2 a.m. Captain wants to see on the bridge right away. I said, what could have happened? I go to the bridge. He says, read this. And it was an encrypted message that had been broken. And it said, from Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Arleigh Burke to Lieutenant J.G. H.H. Moss. The words are burned in my brain. I have learned from reliable sources that you are 20 pounds overweight. This causes great embarrassment to me personally and to the Navy at large. You are hereby directed to lose 20 pounds and report by letter when you've done so. Signed, A. Burke. I thought, well, first of all, it has to be a joke. No, it wasn't a joke. I thought, he's lost his mind. He's a busy guy. He's got more to do than worry about a JG's weight. Well, so I lost the weight. I wrote the letter. I got a nice answer back from him. And so I guess that one lesson there is I found out later on that he learned about my weight issue from my mother at a reception. So my advice to the Brigade of Midshipmen is keep your mothers well removed from senior officers. A few tours later, I took command of a minesweeper. You saw USS Prime MSO 466. I took command the last 4 months of a 10-month Westpac deployment, brought her back to the U.S. We deployed 6 months later for an 8-month cruise with a 220% turnover of the crew. And that ship steamed 25,000 miles at 9 knots when I was in command. And it was a great tour in that I learned so much. But one of the most important things I did learn is I was shaving one morning and looked myself in the mirror, and I realize that I need my crew more than they need me. Captains can be found pretty quickly. You can't get a new crew. So your job is to play those cards you are dealt and to make them motivated and hardworking and proud of their ship, their job, and their Navy. And that ship was a great success. I learned so much. And I knew after that tour, I could handle any job the Navy got handed in my direction. I could handle any job. So my advice would be to take command early if you can get it, to take the tough jobs, seek out the tough jobs. Don't get comfortable jobs. If you are comfortable, you are not really in the center of activity. So I was fortunate enough to command some other ships, fleets, battle groups, and so on. And throughout all that time frame, I tried to interject realistic training operations, and I had good assignments, and I was lucky in that when I was signed somewhere, something happened, okay? I wasn't very anonymous. Sometimes there were some press stories that were, I had misspoken a bit. Other times, there was action to do, and it was always a very exciting time. In every ship or staff I served in for 35 years, I knew that the families of my command were going to be well looked after by my wife, Peggy. She was an inspiration for me from the very beginning, a beautiful, attractive, hardworking, intelligent girl. I tell people that if she'd have been a naval officer, she'd have been a 6-star admiral. She raised 4 children, and despite not having a husband around very much, and those children are here today from California, Texas, the great state of Texas, and Colorado. So in conclusion, and to the brigade, as you look forward to your career in the naval services, Navy and Marines, please remember that you are embarking on a heroic profession. You have the opportunity to do great things. You can, of course, we follow our own traditions, but you have a chance to make new traditions and contribute mightily to our country. And I congratulate you all for that. Thank you very much.
From the United States Naval Academy class of 1967, Admiral Richard W. Meese, United States Navy, retired.
Richard W. Meese was born on May 30th, 1944 in Chicago, Illinois. He is the middle son of Francis and Mildred Meese and grew up playing year-round sports at the local city playground. After graduating with distinction from an all-boy public school that had more than 6,000 students, he was motivated to apply to the Naval Academy by his older cousins, who all had enlisted in the Navy, one of whom was serving in the submarine force. At the Academy, Rich excelled as a scholar, athlete, and leader. An intercollegiate wrestling champion and all-conference 150-pound football player, he served as regimental commander and deputy brigade commander and was awarded the Thompson Trophy and many academic prizes at graduation after finishing first in both academic and lineal standing. The lucky bag noted, with his easygoing personality and enthusiastic determination, success is sure to remain with him. After graduation, he attended Oxford University as a Fulbright and NCAA scholar, then graduated at the top of his submarine school class before embarking on a distinguished career in the submarine force. He began in attack submarines, first as a division officer on the USS Sunfish, and then as the commissioning engineering officer on the USS Elmendel Rivers. After serving on the Atlantic Fleet Nuclear Propulsion Examining Board, He reported to USS Nathan Hale as executive officer, where he completed 2 strategic deterrent patrols. Next, he attended the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy and Harvard University, earning a master's degree in government administration and international relations. Rich went back to sea as commanding officer of USS Sea Devil. Under his command, Sea Devil conducted 3 sensitive missions of national importance and surfaced at the North Pole. He then served as executive assistant to the Assistant CNO for Undersea Warfare and as commander of Submarine Development Squadron 12. In his next assignment as Chief of Staff of the Pacific Submarine Force, he helped oversee all Pacific submarine operations, including support for Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Following selection to flag rank, he was assigned as the Director of the nation's Strategic War Plans and Deputy Director Plans and Policy as a plank owner in the creation of U.S. Strategic Command. He was then assigned as Commander Submarine Group 8 and Commander Allied Submarines Mediterranean, where he directed all submarine operations in Operation Sharp Guard, the NATO-imposed blockade of former Yugoslavia. Promoted to 3-star rank, Rich was assigned as Commander Submarine Force U.S. Atlantic Fleet and Commander Submarine Allied Command Atlantic, where he served as the Senior Submarine Force Operational Commander. His final active duty assignment was Commander-in-Chief of U.S. Strategic Command, where he was directly responsible for the command and control of the nation's strategic nuclear forces. He was involved in the formulation of proposals leading to the 2002 Moscow Treaty and the merger of U.S. Space Command and Strategic Command. He also provided support to President Bush on September 11, 2001. Rich has earned many decorations throughout his career, but takes greatest pride in the Navy and meritorious unit commendations awarded to the many commands in which he served. Following retirement, Rich served as a senior executive of Science Applications International Corporation before forming his own consulting corporation. He was also the longest-serving chairman of the Department of Defense Threat Reduction Advisory Committee and the Navy Mutual Aid Association. He presently serves on numerous boards and committees for government organizations and public companies. Rich supports his alma mater by serving on the U.S. Naval Institute Board of Directors and the Naval Academy Foundation Board of Directors. He is a trustee of the Athletic Foundation and scholarship programs and a President's Circle donor. Rich and his wife Sheila are the proud parents of 2 daughters, Rachel and Sarah, a son-in-law Matt, and a 3-year-old grandson. Rich says his most significant achievement was serving in the greatest submarine force in the world and having played a small part in the silent service that quietly contributed to winning the Cold War. As a scholar, athlete, and leader, Admiral Richard W. Meese truly exemplifies the mission of the U.S. Naval Academy.
Thank you, Midshipman Bubba Scott, Midshipman Worth, Superintendent Ted Carter, Admiral Natter, my classmate, fellow distinguished graduates, distinguished guests, and especially the Brigade of Midshipmen. My wife reminded me this morning about a history paper one of my daughters wrote many, many years ago. It read, "Socrates was a great man. He gave long speeches. They killed him." So I'll try to be brief. I'm deeply honored and humbled to have been selected for this award. My cup truly runneth over. Throughout my life, I've been extremely blessed with devoted parents who instilled in my brothers and me the virtues of hard work, perseverance, and humility. A loving family, many of whom are here today, and particularly my wife, Sheila, who's been my rock and my refuge. She was my first date at the age of 14. Not my last, but my first. I've been blessed with inspirational teachers like Professors Jim Cutting and Bruce Johnson. Bruce is here today, both of who devoted their careers to this wonderful institution, and legendary coaches like Jack Cloud and Ed Perry. Both of them renowned athletes themselves, but both who got more out of us than I think all of us on our teams thought we were able to give. I've been blessed with exceptionally talented seniors and senior leadership and mentors, people like Admiral Bruce DeMars, Hank Childs, Chuck Larson, Bob Bell, Snuffy Smith, Paul Reason, and Joe Preer, just to name a few. Many of them distinguished graduates in their own right. And teammates, shipmates, friends, and associates, too numerous to single out. And lastly, and especially, my amazing classmates from the great class of 1967. Whose bonds of brotherhood and fidelity have remained unwavering over all these years. They all share this honor with me, and I ask that you take a moment to recognize them. Let me now address the brigade. I don't want to talk a lot about myself. I want to talk about our class and our experience. In the early August of our plebe summer, a young new president addressed us. And as part of his speech, he said, "I want to express our strong hope that all of you who have come to the academy as plebes will stay with the Navy. I can think of no more rewarding a career. You will have a chance in the next 10, 20, and 30 years to serve the cause of freedom and your country all over the world. To recognize that upon your good judgment, in many cases, may well rest not only the well-being of the men who serve with you, but also in a very real sense, the security of your country. And any man who may be asked in this century what he did to make his life worthwhile, I think can respond with a good deal of pride and satisfaction. I served in the United States Navy." Those were prophetic words, and many of the alumni who are here today are their living proof. A few months later, President Kennedy was assassinated, and I think most of us probably still remember exactly where we were at the moment we learned he had been shot. We graduated into a naval service that was still led by members of the greatest generation, men and women who had endured the Great Depression and then went on to valiantly fight and prevail in World War II. They left us a remarkable legacy and traditions upon which to build. Can you imagine working for someone like Admiral Mike Rinscoft, class of 38, another distinguished graduate, who made 11 submarine war patrols and commanded the last two at the tender age of 26. Our naval service began in a time of tremendous upheaval. We were at war in Vietnam, and then came the post-Vietnam drawdown, when our service and our sacrifice became unpopular. We endured a period of broken dreams and unrealized promises. Many of us stuck it out, And in the second half of our careers, we really soared. We had a maritime strategy that gave us a strategic vision, and we invested in new technology, but most importantly, we invested in people and pride and discipline. So what was our generation's greatest, most significant legacy? I believe it was the greatest thing that never happened in our lifetimes, World War III. We helped win the Cold War without ever firing a shot. Now, in a few years, all of you in the brigade will have entered the Navy and the Marine Corps in a time, I think, of even more profound upheaval, a resurgent Russia, an emergent China, an unpredictable and erratic North Korea, a boiling Middle East cauldron. But despite this welter of change, you'll also discover some constants forged as links in that long, long chain of classes dating back to the very foundation of this academy. Like so many graduates before you, you've made a commitment to take on the sacred duty of defending the nation. Inscribed over the chapel doors that each of you have walked through are the words, non sibi sed patria, not for self, but for country. Those words must be your rallying cry and guide and define the selflessness of your service. You'll also discover that you're held to a much higher standard. A New York Times editorial got it right when it said that too often your civilian counterparts are told that they should no longer be held accountable for what they do or what they intend, that nearly every action can be justified by some rule or by some technicality. To err is not only human, it absolves responsibility. But in the naval service, there's a tradition that's even older than the country itself. That's the tradition that with responsibility goes authority, and with them both goes accountability. That legal is not necessarily synonymous with right or just, that rules cannot be allowed to displace moral obligation or error avoidance boldness. Your word must be your bond. And lastly, you're going to discover that the men and women who serve under you are truly exceptional. In many cases, the only difference between officers and enlisted is opportunity. They will look to your leadership, your integrity, your resolve, your strength of character. Cherish them, learn from them, not just teach them, and share with them the special trust and confidence that has been placed in you. Our country really needs men and women who can carry a message to Garcia. In closing, it's my great hope that you will heed these paraphrased words of President Kennedy. Any man or woman, when asked in this 21st century what he or she did to make their life worthwhile, I think can respond with a great deal of pride and satisfaction. I served in the United States Naval Service. Thank you. God bless this nation, the men and women of our armed services, and this proud, proud institution that has nurtured so many of us. Beat Army.
From the United States Naval Academy class of 1969, Admiral James O. Ellis, Jr., United States Navy, retired.
James O. Ellis Jr. was born July 20, 1947 in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He is the son of Jim and Mary Ellis and was raised with his brothers Joe and Don. Jim Sr. was an aviator and Corsair pilot at the end of World War II and made the Navy a career. Growing up at naval air stations and smitten by the space race, Jim aspired to follow his father's footsteps. He felt the Naval Academy was the best place to begin. At the Academy, Jim was involved in the rugby club, plebe gymnastics, the debate team, and on the staff for the Trident calendar. During his first class year, he was the 2nd Regiment Commander, Fall Set, and the 6th Battalion Commander, Spring Set. The lucky bag noted his sheer determination eliminated the possibility of a permanent stumbling block. Jim's sights are set on a Navy career where he is certain to leave his mark. After graduating with a Bachelor of Science degree in Aeronautical Engineering, Jim completed flight school and was designated a naval aviator in 1971. His early career as a fighter pilot included tours with several fighter squadrons, attendance at the Naval Fighter Weapons School, Top Gun, and assignment as the commanding officer of the 1st East Coast FA-18 Strike Fighter Squadron. After graduating from Navy Test Pilot School, he participated in aircraft carrier landing structural tests of aircraft and related systems. He completed nuclear power training and then served tours as executive officer of the USS Carl Vinson and commanding officer of USS LaSalle, forward base in Manama, Bahrain. Next, he assumed command of USS Abraham Lincoln in 1991, where he participated in Operation Desert Storm during the Lincoln's maiden voyage in the Western Pacific and Arabian Gulf. After his promotion to Rear Admiral in 1996, he served as Commander, Carrier Battle Group 5, leading contingency response operations in the Taiwan Straits. Ashore, he was assigned military staff tours directing operations for the U.S. Atlantic Fleet and as Deputy Chief of Naval Operations for Plans, Policy, and Operations. He then served as Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Naval Forces Europe, and during the 1999 Kosovo crisis, where he led the United States and NATO forces in combat and humanitarian operations as Commander-in-Chief, Allied Forces Southern Europe. In his final active duty assignment, Admiral Ellis served as Commander, United States Strategic Command at Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. He was responsible for the global command and control of U.S. strategic forces to meet decisive national security objectives and provided a broad range of strategic capabilities and options for the President and Secretary of Defense. In 2004, Admiral Ellis completed a 39-year Navy career during a time of great challenge and change. Among his many military awards, he received 3 Defense Distinguished Service Medals, 2 Navy Distinguished Service Medals, 4 Legions of Merit, and the Defense Meritorious Service Medal. He earned a master's degree in aeronautical systems from the University of West Florida. He also holds a master's degree in aerospace engineering from Georgia Tech and was inducted into the school's Engineering Hall of Fame in 2005. After 7 years at its helm, Admiral Ellis retired as President and Chief Executive Officer of the Institute of Nuclear Power Operations in 2012. He serves on the Board of Directors of Lockheed Martin and Dominion Resources and is Chairman of the Board of Level 3 Communications. In 2013, he was elected to the National Academy of Engineering for advanced nuclear safety around the world. Jim has generously supported the Naval Academy through his service on the Chief of Naval Operations Curriculum Advisory Committee and the Academy Selection Committee for Senator Saxby Chambliss of Georgia and a President's Circle donor. Jim is married to Elizabeth Pate Cornell and has 2 children, Patrick and Lauren, and 4 grandchildren. Jim says that he was incredibly fortunate to have 5 opportunities to command. For 3 of those, he was lucky enough to be there at the beginning, to be a part of bringing an organization to life. As part of the commissioning crew, he helped create capabilities important to the nation, shaping its standards, culture, and reputation. He was proud to be there at the start of those journeys that continue today. Admiral James O. Ellis, Jr., an aviator and heroic leader who guided our armed services and nation to a better future.
Well, thank you, Midshipman Scott, Bubba, Admiral Natter, Bob, Vice Admiral Carter, Ted, previous Distinguished Graduate Award winners, alumni and friends of the Naval Academy, and shipmates of long ago. Thanks for your presence here today. Thanks especially to classmates Tom Cavanaugh and Steve Komisky for believing that I might someday even stand here. As most of you know, a candidate for this incredible honor must be nominated by his or her classmates. For me, if the process had ended there, it would have been more than enough. Humble thanks then to the great class of 1969, whom I am proud to represent. We entered and exited in the tumult of the 60s, and our unofficial anthem became "We've Got to Get Out of This Place" by Eric Burdon and the Animals. Soon. We now find ourselves back here nearly 50 years after that journey began, most of us admitting that this place shaped us in ways only really visible, like history, looking backwards. As I said to Pat Stroop and a few others, all of us in the class walked good, if different, paths. The real honor comes from those with whom we began the journey and the many, many more we met along the way. Thanks to you, one and all. Thanks also to General Pete Pace and the DGA Selection Committee. I was privileged to serve with most of you in or out of uniform, and I am grateful for your trust. Thanks also to my extended family, including brothers Joe and Don, daughter Lauren, who is not here, and son Patrick, who is, along with daughter-in-law Brenda and two of my 4 grandkids, Deirdre and Orrin. Patrick, if you could see him, made a different career choice, electing to go to a small school in upstate New York. 24 Army-Navy games later, we still agree to disagree only one football Saturday a year. In any case, if that's as far as his youthful rebellion took him, I guess his mom, Polly, and I did okay. Mom is no longer with us, son, but if she were, even without, by my count, your 19 deployments to Afghanistan, she would be as proud of you as I am. Thanks also to my wife, Elizabeth, a beautiful and distinguished professor of engineering at Stanford, here with my stepdaughter, Ariane. Dear, we're nearly 2 years into this new voyage, blending careers, homes, and families, and I could not be happier or more thankful. Thank you for your continuing love and patient support in broadening the horizons of this old sailor. To my fellow honorees, I add my sincere congratulations. I worked for Admiral Hank Moss, with Admiral Rich Meese, and admired David Robinson, the other admiral, from afar. And I'm honored to be included in your company. And finally, thanks to the real distinguished guests today, the men and women of the Brigade of Midshipmen. Yeah, come on. We have been asked appropriately to address our remarks to you. That means, I guess, that I have to talk. I suppose there is some expectation on the part of the Academy leadership that you are here to listen. In any case, thanks to the efforts of my son, I've read all your yik-yak posts. Yes, I do yak. And I know how glad you really are to be here today. And trust me, I would probably feel the same way if I were in your shoes 50 years ago. But I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. My job is to talk, yours is to listen, but if you finish listening before I finish talking, please raise your hand and you'll be excused. All right? As I considered what thoughts or concepts to share with you this afternoon, a single word came to mind. As you may recall, my dad was a naval aviator, demobilized after the adventure of World War II, who found his small southern hometown then a bit confining and went back in the Navy for a 25-year career. When we would visit his South Carolina family on our periodic change of station moves, the language the family used struck me. He was not in the Navy or in the military or even in the armed forces, but rather in the service, a term I suspect born of earlier generations and now echoed appropriately once again in the phrase, "Thank you for your service," that is today often heard from a grateful public by those privileged to wear the uniform of our country, the cloth of our nation. So my theme in the next few minutes that remain is simply that, service. The word is a mirror image of the real motto of the class of 1969, non sibi, not for self. It is a part of the mission statement of this great institution and each of the other 3 service academies, emphasis added. They are called service academies for a reason. Dr. Martin Luther King defined service as the rent we pay for the space we occupy. But I would urge you not to think of it as a cost or a price or as a sacrifice, but rather as a gift that if freely and honestly given will be repaid you many, many times over. As Albert Schweitzer once advised, I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I know. The only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve. Service is often thought of in grand, if abstract terms, such as service to the nation or service to mankind. Some of you will be fortunate enough to have those opportunities, but all of you can serve wherever you find yourself in ways large and small, in or out of uniform, while defining your personal leadership style along the way, because true, honest, and selfless service, in my view, is the essence of leadership. The finest leaders I have ever known did not live only in the front row chair in the ready room, in the captain's chair on the bridge, at the head of the battalion, or now in the C-suite corner office. They were omnipresent in the organization and had the knack of inverting the organizational pyramid so that the leader at the apex was actually at the bottom and saw his or her role as supporting those who, in rank or title, worked directly for them, but were really comrades in arms, sometimes literally. They instinctively knew that the leader's job was to give their direct reports everything they needed to succeed: training, guidance, resources, vision, inspiration, mentoring, patient leadership, and yes, support, especially when those they led made honest mistakes and came up short, as all of us inevitably sometime will. Taking the analogy one more step, if the leader's direct reports in turn provide that same support to those they lead and so on, then the entire culture is transformed. And the leadership layers exist to support those who organizationally are at the bottom, but are really the ones doing most of the dirty work and usually all of the heavy lifting. As I penned a few words for today's occasion, my thoughts strayed, as they often do, to the walls of my study. As with many of the graduates in this hall, there on the walls hang the old plaques, memorabilia, and faded photos that tangibly recall, in my case, my lifelong love affair with naval aviation. While many of the mementos are of things, squadrons now gone, ships decommissioned, and aircraft now obsolete, I find the few photos I treasure most are those with people in them. I find myself staring at once familiar faces, crouched behind a row of flight helmets, squinting into a Southeast Asian sun in front of a freshly painted jet fighter. It is a moment frozen in time, of fresh faces, palpable excitement, and unspoken bonds. Whether your own memories will be of aviation squadrons, ship or submarine crews, infantry battalions, SEAL teams, or supporting units, I suspect your thoughts will someday be the same as my own. I smiled at our long-past youth. I sadly note those who are no longer with us, and I marvel, yes, marvel, at how far those of us left have traveled in what seems so few years. And I wonder if those who were never fortunate enough to be a part of it can ever really understand. Whether you will serve for 3 years or 30, whether in time of wars hot or cold, or at a time when the difference between the two will be largely a matter of semantics, whether your service is marked by months of tedium or minutes of sheer terror, whether you are a part of something monumental or serve quietly far from the public spotlight, what you will share with all of us who have gone before is the deepest admiration for those with whom you serve. The bonds of loyalty, friendship, and yes, love, forged in those times we share, are stronger than steel and can and do last a lifetime. It is said one serves one's country, but the service is to those who stand with you, beside you, through it all. For those who have not experienced it, it can seem unfathomable, but it is real, it is priceless, and it will be forever yours. Stephen Ambrose ends his classic World War II chronicle, Band of Brothers, with a question asked of one of the World War II paratroopers by a grandson. I've stolen his answer to use if one of my own grandchildren ever asks. The question is, Grandpa, were you a hero in the war? And my answer will be, no, I was not. But I served in the company of heroes. Thank you all very much, and with apologies to my son Patrick, beat Army!
From the United States Naval Academy class of 1987, Mr. David Robinson.
David Maurice Robinson was born August 6, 1965 in Key West, Florida, to Ambrose and Frida Robinson, and was raised with his brother Charles and sister Kimberly. Since his father was a career enlisted sailor, the family moved often. David excelled in academics and was a talented musician. During his senior year in high school, he joined the basketball team. As he displayed tremendous talent on the court, he was discovered by Navy athletics. He set off to the academy to receive a quality education and continue his family legacy of service. David was a math major, but was most noted for his athletic talent. He led Navy to 3 March Madness tournaments, making the Elite Eight in 1986. In his senior year, he was the NCAA's best player, receiving the John Wooden Award. The Lucky Bag noted Dave for his great friendships and memories. Following graduation, he was selected first in the 1987 NBA draft, but passed on 2 seasons to honor his military commitment. While serving in the Navy, he attended the Naval Civil Engineer Corps Officer School in Port Hueneme, California, and served as a naval civil engineer. After his active duty service, David played for the San Antonio Spurs and earned the Rookie of the Year award in 1990. For the first 6 years of his basketball career, he continued service in the Navy Reserves. As a reserve officer, he was assigned to Kings Bay Submarine Base as the Assistant Resident Officer in charge of construction. He was also assigned to the Navy Public Works Department in Washington, D.C., and participated in Navy recruiting. While on active duty, David made his first Olympic basketball debut in Seoul, Korea. In 1992, he headed for Barcelona, where the U.S. took the gold medal with the legendary Olympic Dream Team, featuring Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan. He again was on the gold medal winning team at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. Following an exceptional season in 1995, David won the NBA Most Valuable Player Award while pacing the Spurs to the NBA's best record. Together with Tim Duncan, the Spurs raced through the 1999 playoffs, losing only twice and recorded an NBA record of 12 consecutive playoff wins. In David's final season, the Spurs defeated the Lakers, three-time defending champions, and took the 2003 NBA title. Although he was not a flag officer, he became known as the Admiral throughout his NBA career. David received multiple awards and honors for his basketball career, including being named among the 50 greatest players in NBA history. He was also elected to the United States Olympic Hall of Fame and the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Off the court, David has inspired many with his humanitarian efforts. He and his wife Valerie created the Robinson Foundation to help children and families in need. They also founded the Carver Academy, a charter elementary through high school in the IDEA Public Schools network. He has also received numerous honors for his charitable works, including an induction to the World Sports Humanitarian Hall of Fame, the Mont Blanc de la Culture Award, and the 2013 Heisman Humanitarian Award. In March 2003, the NBA renamed its Community Assist Award to the David Robinson Plaque. He honors veterans through the NBA's Hoops for Troops program and by visiting with injured troops. In business, David is a partner with the Admiral Capital Group, a private equity firm with a focus on benefiting investors as well as the communities in which they invest. David has not forgotten his roots at the Naval Academy. He has addressed the brigade as a Forrestal lecturer, served on the Naval Academy Foundation Board of Directors, and supported the foundation as a major donor. He is a President's Circle donor, and he has also assisted athletic directors and coaches. David and his wife Valerie live in San Antonio, Texas, and have 3 children, David Jr., Corey, and Justin. Outside of raising his family, David says his single most rewarding accomplishment was building the Carver Academy. It has provided inspiration for hundreds of families and their children, as well as starting a chain of what will be 20 new charter schools serving over 10,000 students and effectively doubling the number of low-income students in San Antonio going to college. Mr. David M. Robinson, an outstanding sportsman and humanitarian, is a role model and inspiration to the men, women, and children of our nation.
Thank you so much. This is an incredible honor for me. I feel like the child on the dais here. These men represent a tremendous amount of experience and wisdom, and I hope that one day I can attain the levels of experience and wisdom these gentlemen have. I have such an admiration for them, and you know they've been calling me the Admiral for so long, but today the gig is up. This is the real thing. But my relationship with the Naval Academy and the Navy has just been tremendous. My time here has prepared me in a remarkable way, in not just for being a civil engineer officer, but for everything that I've done in my life. I've been fortunate enough. I'd really like to thank my family who got a chance to come, my wife over here, Valerie. We've been married now for 24 years, and she's the real commanding officer at the house. And we have 3 boys, 2 of which are in college now and weren't able to come, but my youngest son, Justin, was able to join us today. And my mother and father, you saw my father in the video who was enlisted. He was a senior chief for the Navy, and really taught me, really gave me my love for the Navy and gave me my sense of service. and taught me, what it meant. Being here gave me a sense of discipline and structure. And I hope that you all take this away and understand how this place will prepare you for your life. If there's any advice that I can give you, I would tell you to remember who you are. Don't ever forget who you are. There's always a bunch of labels, a bunch of titles that we have, and we have to remember those titles. I am a father. Everywhere I go, I remember that I am a father. I am a husband. Everything I do reflects that I am that husband to this one wife. I'm a child of God. And everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I try to recognize that everyone that I see is my brother and sister in Christ. And that drives me to be the best that I can in every circumstance, in every situation. And if you can remember who you are, I'm a member of the class of 1987. Those my guys. And I'm so proud to represent 87 today. It is a phenomenal class. By the way, no stories are authorized about me while I was here. I'm just letting you know that right now. But these guys, some of my best friends, my roommate Carl Liebert, who now actually lives down in San Antonio and runs the capital company over at USAA. Vince McBeth, some of my best friends, Ed McGee, and Ronnie Harris, an Olympic runner, just a wonderful, but I could name a ton of guys. But these guys have inspired me and encouraged me to be the very best that I can. So when I think about being a member of this class of 87, it pushes me to continue to excel and to continue to strive to achieve as much as I possibly can in encouraging people. And so I thank you guys for doing that for me and being the wonderful and great examples you are. I'm sure you will see more of the class of 87 up here in the future. So I thank all of you very much, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the brigade tomorrow. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in a round of applause for all the 2015 recipients of the United States Naval Academy Alumni Association's Distinguished Graduate Award. Ladies and gentlemen, the Navy Blue and Gold. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the formal ceremony honoring our distinguished graduates. We ask that all guests wishing to meet with this year's Distinguished Graduate Award recipients please gather on the arena floor.